But here's the other thing, even the sheriff, it directly affects all of these deputies because that's how the laws work.
Different people that I have talked to, and I don't know why people talk to me, they should be talking to you guys, think that it looks bad, the disparity. Everybody thinks the sheriff is primo. So if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. That's what I'm saying about the sheriff.
Sure, no, he is good. He's doing great.
All right, I've got to go to work. Can I take one of these?
Yeah, please. Yeah, thanks for coming in.
I got a scoop.
Oh, okay.
I've got a delivery right now,
Hey,
but I just put in a little
Oh,
official
okay.
word.
I guess.
Morning.
Hey, guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
How
you doing?
Kim is Kim.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. How you doing, Mr. County
Pretty
Attorney?
good.
Good.
Me here or over there?
Oh. That's here. Oh, he's got it cornered up there.
How you feeling? Good. Yeah, you haven't seen me for a while.
So he could renegotiate his salary. That's what's happened. He has the job, he's got a good evaluation. How would we let's say somebody else applies, we can't hire him. He's got the job.
Yeah, but other people would probably could have applied if they'd have known that that was gonna be the base salary.
Well, they did know that we didn't have a base salary when we applied. It was for a county road supervisor job. And when we advertised it, we said we will negotiate your salary. And that was based on who we got with experience they had and all those kinds of things. When we advertised this, we said that salary is gonna be negotiated. You know, and then we did have sort of a baseline, and that would be, it would be unfair to say that we didn't, because we had Mark Tagg's salary. And Mark was the county road supervisor before Paul. And, you know, he did the same thing, got a raise. And that's one of the things in the discussion, I think, that was missed. Mark Tagg's final salary would have been $71,000. And so then we had a competitive process. We negotiated a wage for him for the first year, and we told him that you can come in at the end of that first year based on good employment reviews and get negotiate your salary, a base salary. So that's basically what we're doing.
So I could come in and ask you guys for a raise, you guys could say no to the raise, you can increase it a certain amount, or you can grant what I request. So I think you can't reopen the position.
I think that's what I'm getting told. Well, I got like 3 calls, but that's what I'm getting told. And then they were asking about why we're raising it now and not raising it into the fiscal year so it's done right.
Well, it's because that's on us.
Well, I know, but
We
they're
were
still
busy
saying
and we didn't get it on the agenda.
you know, that's what, it's, a lot of them are just saying that it's not so much about the raise, it's about the way we did it. We should have put a little bit at one time and then moved a little more, you know, and you made that motion at one time to do that, and we denied it. The calls that I got, that's what was the biggest thing, showing it at $14,000 a year raise, there just, a lot of people were looking at that like, holy shit.
$8 an hour, almost $8 an hour.
That's what.
Well, you know, this is a private industry where you could do that, you know, I mean, this is people's money, you know, and a lot of people are concerned about that much increase. And I know other agencies, other governmental agencies do that. If the job changes
The
considerably.
job didn't change. I agree with you, if the job changed,
Well, I mean,
absolutely.
well, the pay, I mean.
The pay is the only thing that's changed. You know, we did an evaluation, you know, he was hired in public, several meetings, and, the job hasn't changed. Okay? We're just fulfilling the commitment we made to him when we
Yeah.
hired him.
You guys are just talking about salary now.
Yes, just salary.
Well, we can't change the job description.
No, he follows, exactly, he follows the job description he was hired on.
I mean, it's just,
Well, you made a
so what are you
motion,
gonna do when the rest of the crew says, okay, you got $14,000 more? I want $14,000 more.
well, they're in the union, they will be after us, I guarantee you, for a raise. But not because of that, just because they do every year. When do we negotiate with them again in a couple of years?
2 years.
2 years.
Look, I'm not saying he's not gonna get the 70,000.
Okay,
I'm just saying, and he'd probably get the job, but it would open it up for other
yeah,
people.
but I'm saying we're gonna get our butts sued off if in fact we open it up when he already has the job. He has the job, he's following the job description, he's been hired. He has an excellent job evaluation. I'm not willing to do that. You think it's costing money to give him a raise, wait till we get sued here.
Why?
Because he's got the job
Because he
here.
wants more, he wants $14,000 more.
That's right, and we can say no.
So what I'd encourage your motion to be is no salary increase, what the salary increase would be, that needs to be, that would, yeah, you can't reopen.
Did you change it to what then?
So the motion would either be no salary increase, or what the salary increase would be the motion. But, yeah. So that, it's not proper to reopen the position because he's asking for a salary increase. So either it has to be no to his request, or it needs to be what the increase will be. That's
You wanna modify your
that's the
motion?
only options.
Or do you wanna go ahead with your motion? It's up to you.
Or vote for making another motion,
Okay, so you're gonna abandon your original motion?
or not?
Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, increase his salary $4,000 an hour, $4,000 after July, for an $8,000 total, and $3,000 a year per year for the next 2 years, so that'd be $6,000. That would give him $14,000 over several years, depending on performance.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
slow down there,
Go
because
ahead.
I lost it all too.
So I got
Increase it.
4,000 after July.
4,000 now.
4,000 after July, so it'd be a total of $8,000
So I have 4,000 now and then
4,000.
another in July.
and 4,000 in July.
4,000 in the physical year of July, right? Isn't that what
An additional
Oh,
4,000.
she's not.
I think he's saying
Per
4,000 now and then another 4,000 when our new fiscal year starts.
I'm doing 4,000 now because of performance. Okay. And then 3,000 into 2020, 3,000 in 2021, depending on performance.
3,000 in 2021, right? Is that what you said, Jeff? Trying to think.
All the future increases would be depending on performance.
Except this first.
Would the 4,000 now come in July or just right now?
What's that?
Is the 4,000, you said right now?
Yeah, right now, it's immediate.
And then when it comes July, then what?
Another 4,000.
So when,
regarding, performance, you talking about on the performance evaluation, like, what kind of score? Or you wanna set a score?
Satisfactory.
You'll get your opportunity.
Is that? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure this.
So Kim, are you there?
Yes.
Could you read that, then, please?
Commissioner Hinkle amended motion to increase $4,000 now, and depending on performance, increases of $4,000 in July 2019, $3,000 in 2020, and $3,000 in 2021.
And I stated their satisfactory performance.
Not we on us, right?
Your determination.
Is there a second to the motion?
I think this goes right back to what pretty much what the motion was made by you.
It's a
You
little
know,
different,
yeah.
yeah, but it,
I mean, I'm not trying to pass it up, you know what I'm saying? I just want to,
well, that was Commissioner Bonnie. We have a new commissioner. So,
I guess it still goes back to that deal there where we've offered it to two other employees for 71 and 75 plus a pickup to drive back and forth to where the guy was living. We've never had nobody come in and complain about it till now. I'm trying to figure out if it's more of a personal issue or if it's just what's going on, I guess.
Was that well advertised that you did that? There's a lot of people know that.
absolutely, we have 4 applicants. Oh, you know, is that what you mean? Sorry.
What we offered.
When you offered the 70,000.
It was done in public meetings. Well, okay, so is there a second to the motion?
Is there any public comment?
There will be. There has to be a motion first, and then we'll allow the public to comment on the motion. So there's not a motion yet. Going once, no second, we'll make another motion. Is there a second to the motion?
I'm puzzled on this. So what's he make right now? You have that, Kim?
56. It's on 56, so.
You know, I'm not saying that it's not worth $70,000, and, you know, a lot of people disagree with that, but I think the job is worth $70,000. It's just, it's a big jump.
I think the market tells us it is. You know, going out and looking at all, you know. So if I'm in that market and I don't get, you know, somewhere in the middle, I don't have to be the top, you know, but I certainly if I'm the bottom, I maybe go looking. So, you know, good public policy is to try to hit the market. It doesn't have to be the top of the market, it can, you know, better public policy might be to hit somewhere in the middle. So he's comfortable that he's being compensated for the time and risk and talent that he gives us. And I agree with you.
So at the end of this physical year, he'd be sitting right at 68, right? Is that what you're saying?
Could you speak up,
Be at
Mr. Otter?
60.
You got your hand over, you can't hear you for crying out loud.
Okay, we'll try to speak up.
Thank you.
So at 4, in July, you'd be making 60, it'd take him till 2020 before he'd be making 64. See what I'm saying? He's a long, he'd be a long time getting 70.
July 1, he'd be at 64.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for his first paycheck
Yeah.
in July 1,
Well, give them 6,000 in 2020. Depending on performance.
Amending the motion.
Okay, so, just so you understand, Chuck, the budget's set in July, so when you say next year, you know, you're actually going a whole nother year if it's 2020, does that make sense? Yeah. So it's like, we run from July to July 9, just, you know, okay.
So you're talking about July 1, 2020?
You know, other government agencies, they go up and step increases to a point.
They do, and he will, he'll actually be in a matrix after that. That's why what we're trying to set is base, okay?
So then it's.
And what I'm thinking is quickly as you want to get to the base salary, he goes right into a matrix then, okay? And what we're trying to do is get him off probation, set his base salary. And that would be a base salary based on what we paid the previous road supervisor and what, when Commissioner Hatter talked about, we offered a guy, even higher than that, 75 in a pickup. But, so, you know, we were trying to hit that market at 7, but he will go into a matrix.
So that means he's gonna go up from 70 every year after that?
If his performance evaluations, yeah, but it's real small increments, it's not.
The winner's gotta be capped someplace.
Well, the matrix goes on for long ways, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a cap, there's an end to it.
Yeah, there's an end to it, but yeah. But they aren't these big salaries, okay? They aren't these big raises, they're just, you know, whatever they are in cost of living.
So you get the step
A
plus cost of living.
percentage, you get a step in your salary, you know, like
So we're talking
$2-3%.
$2,000 or $3,000.
Not even that, well, maybe 2,000 at the most. 1,000, depending on whether it gets cost of living, which you'll decide. So, that's a good point. What we're trying to do, get him off probation, set his base salary, and then he goes into a matrix of, depending on really good job performance, of whether or not he gets to the next step, okay?
How can we
That's-
do that if we don't even know the cap? I mean, what, you know.
So
you
what,
could
the
go to
matrix?
You could go to $100,000 or.
No, there's a end.
You have the
to it.
personnel manual?
Well, but the other, you know, everybody's on a matrix. Kim, you on a matrix?
Yeah.
Yep. And they're not real huge raises every year, they're just
No, they pay, it's 2% every other year.
like 2% every, and it's every other year, it's not every other year.
Every other year. Do you want me to?
Well, that answers it, 2%.
2% every other year.
1%.
Based on performance line.
Right.
That brings into a whole new spec to me.
Yeah.
That brings into a whole new spec to me. I mean, yeah. it's not that I don't agree that he gets a raise, but it's one of them, how to bring that up, I never thought of the step increases that will be coming too. My opinion is, the way I feel right now, I won't make a call on it until I think about it more. This is a big deal, and people, I don't wanna keep dragging this out and out, but right now, after hearing that, I'm just kinda stuck. Kinda changes my thoughts on it, you know.
What new information would you need?
Well, I never even thought about, you know, the step increases. I was just thinking treating him as a contractor, and I never even thought about the steps. I don't think, I guess that's where I got through on.
No, he's a county employee that goes on.
But you see,
the
what I'm
record.
saying is that I never even gave that a thought, you know, here in another year or whatever, what me, Kim, would be coming from this year, and then next year he'd be a step in 2 years. But that's already when we just said that we would be raising more in 21's your motion. So he'd be getting that raise plus a step. So really,
Plus cost of living,
huh?
plus cost of living. You
If
get
we
the step
get, if we
increase.
get
If we do it, that's up to us.
compensation over.
And, you know, the board.
But I understand, so,
So,
yeah.
Compensation board is just for elected
Right,
officials.
that's right, it's all, but it would be us to
Yeah.
decide that. So, Chuck, we're trying to set the guy's base salary. He goes into a matrix like every other employee from you know, what's the county road supervisory position worth the base salary?
Is it,
Well, like I
is
said,
it fair to hear from the public before we final, or make a motion?
We've
Is
heard
that-
from, well, we've heard
I
from the
mean,
public.
I guess I don't
I'd
like
like to have a
making
motion.
Yeah, I guess I'm not trying to postpone or make it a bigger fight, but I know there's some questions from the public that could help both ways.
No, Bill?
To hear from them and then finalize on the motion, or, cause I'm into giving him a raise, but after I hear about the step, is there a way I can give him a raise right now to keep him and then move on with this, or is that kinda just saying?
Actually, that was my motion, if you remember.
I know, I'm just saying.
Okay. So there's
Is
a
it-
motion on the floor, and, there's no second. Is there a second?
I can't second it on due to the fact that there's more information brought to me now than there was.
Hearing none, the motion dies for lack of a second. Is there a new motion? I'll make my previous motion. You know, based on the fact that we're trying to set a base salary for the county road supervisor, based on the research we've done at NACO and Sam Jan Francisco with the local government center, here's my motion. I move that we move Paul off of probation, and the $7,000 raise is immediately, and then in July, based on a satisfactory evaluation, it's another $7,000 raise, and he goes on the matrix. That's his base salary. That's my motion.
Point of order. Wasn't Mr. All hired in 2017, so his evaluation and should have been in 2018?
Well, we did the evaluation,
Now
we
we're
just
doing
didn't.
it in 2019.
No, we did the evaluation just recently, and we did two, but we did a recent one, just months ago, so.
Yeah, but you're saying the evaluation should have been after a year, and it's at that point in time, you should have revised the base salary.
Yeah, we should have, yep.
And you didn't do it,
No,
so then it shouldn't be increased at this time.
why?
Why should it be increased?
Because that's what we promised him. That was a negotiation, that's what we promised him,
Yeah.
that's why. Okay, so the conversations with the commissioners, Kim, do you have the motion? Okay, does everybody understand the motion? Okay, is there a second to the motion?
him 7 now,
Yep.
and then 7 in July?
Based on a satisfactory evaluation, 7 in July, then he's on the matrix, which is every 2 years he gets about 2%.
And 7 would put him on, July. 7, if we gave him 7 now, that'd push him right into the matrix. Where would he'd sit right
If
in
we
the
give him
matrix.
7 now, he would be at 60, or he'd be at, sorry.
See, this is what, you
He'd
know.
be, yeah, he'd be at 63 and he gets 7, he'd be at 70 in July, based on another good evaluation.
How can we do this if we don't know the top? How can we tell the people here
What?
that we don't know the top of what you?
Every year he gets
I didn't
2%.
even see 70,000 on here.
Every other year he gets 2%. There's a, well, that isn't the right matrix. Every other year he gets a 2% increase, like every other employee.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
We don't- What's the top?
We don't know where the top is, because once we set it with the, that's why I'm saying it brings more into spec that we, yeah, where does it stop?
So you'll find that.
We're at,
So Chuck, you'll find that when people have matrix, if you look at Gallatin County, I think it's Gallatin County, he makes $93,000, but he's been there for 20 years. See what I'm saying? So he's been on the matrix and got 2% a year for 20 years, well, he's making $93,000.
So that depends on how long you work for the
You
county.
know how long you work for the county?
we get the same way in the village.
Right, and you get good evaluations.
I still don't know what the top is. Is it 93,000?
It's whatever you can set it for. If he comes in, let's say 10 years from now, and he's making $85,000, and you say, you know, that's just enough for the economy, and it might be, because the economy can change, and the market for road supervisors can change. You can just say, no, we're not gonna grant the step increase. Every 2 years, you get that opportunity to grant it. It isn't automatic. He's gotta get a good valuation, and you've gotta grant it.
I didn't look at that wording, I think, Bill, I think it is.
Valuation.
I think he can
If you're
assume.
gonna put them on the
Yeah,
step.
yeah. It's like the sheriff gets longevity, okay? A brand new sheriff doesn't make very much, okay? But a sheriff like ours has been on, that's
I
okay.
understand all that.
That's exactly what that is a longevity matrix.
But you're not gonna, if he gets a satisfactory performance, we're not gonna sit there and say, no, you're not getting your step increase.
You're too, I don't think we are. I don't think we are.
So we're committing the county to $100,000.
In 20 years, probably you're right. But wages tend to go up, you know, and still,
And you're
unless,
still getting the cost of living.
if you allow it, yes. But his people will too.
His salary's outside this
It's outside
matrix,
the
so
matrix.
you guys,
Yeah,
it'd be
you
you guys contracting for it. It'd be a contract. So whether, you're right, whether you wanna do an increase every 2 years would be your discretion.
Be up to us. Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Does everybody understand the motion?
Not really.
Okay. So here's the
I mean,
motion.
we keep backing off and
I'm
going
sorry.
to a different, I mean, I
Yeah.
understand it.
We're having a discussion about the motion, though. Here's the motion. He gets a $7,000 raise right now, takes him off of probation. He's no longer on probation. He'll be making $63,000 next paycheck. And until July. In July, we do evaluation. If in fact it's satisfactory, he gets the other 7, and his base salary is 70. From then on, he's on the matrix. And
Well, there isn't a matrix.
See,
for
that's
it.
Well,
what.
the decision
so
would-
most
So they-
couldn't be.
Increase would be what you guys contract with.
Okay, I can modify my motion to say the increase beyond the 70,000 base would be, a contract that we do with him every 2 years, or every year.
I think
Year.
Every year?
Year to
I
see.
think I'd go for that, but I'd make a motion that it'd be hand him a check for $5,000 and then he'd be evaluated every year, just so we can step in, or the amount that we could give him, we gotta figure out where, I understand what Chuck's saying, where he'd be sitting if he was like at a grade 15, 16, whatever. We gotta figure out where he'd be sitting in a grade, so that when we gave him raises on his evaluations or whatever, then we'd know where we're sitting. Cause right now, I understand what you're saying, we don't know where he is.
You'd have to
Where we
amend the
start.
matrix.
Just
Huh?
have to change
You'd
the
have to
matrix.
amend the matrix. If you're
Why
gonna do
would
the
we have
step.
to amend the matrix if we can't just start him out at a, say, this is just saying off a year, this ain't right, I know, but if you start him out at a step 10, cause it really, right now, he is at a step 10, it comes to a darn near $25.90, it's $26 he's making now.
Well, Scotty's a salaried employee, he doesn't have to be on the matrix.
But what I'm saying is, don't we wanna try to get him to the matrix, so
I
everybody's
thought
on
so
the
too, but
board?
if you've got a problem with, you know, what he's gonna be making in 20 years, which I think is not, you know, realistic, but okay. If you've got a problem with that, then we don't have to put him on the matrix as a salaried employee. We can just say, we'll negotiate, we'll have a contract with him, we'll negotiate his salary every 2 years.
I think it'd be impossible to amend that matrix to keep him on there.
Okay. So let's just leave the
He's
matrix
already-
out of it.
Yeah, it's not
Well, this is-
following the matrix.
This goes back to 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this hasn't been updated, so everybody's really out of the matrix, right?
No? Ken's in it?
Well, no, I know, but I mean,
The
when do we,
But he doesn't have to be, he doesn't have to be, Scott. We can just set the matrix aside. I haven't made that part of my motion. All I said was, we're getting into 70,000. If you wanna have further discussions on, his future, just leave the motion the way it is. He's not, and leave him off the matrix. Doesn't automatically go on the matrix.
cause then that brings in that 2% every other year.
Right.
And we can't really tell the people what he's making, cause we don't know.
Yeah, we
You know
can't
what
tell
he's
him
making
exactly
now.
what he's making.
What he'll be making, I mean, that's what, I think they're looking more ahead than what they are making right now. I guess I'm not trying to drag this out more and more, but I'm all screwed up.
Scott, here's the advantage of the matrix. Once his base salary is set, you can tell the public what he's gonna be making 20 years from now, 10 years, 5 years, tomorrow, okay? But without the matrix, you can't, because what's gonna have to happen is that every 2 years, he's gonna have to come in and negotiate his salary, or every year.
I think it should be every year.
Okay, so every year he comes in negotiating his salary, you
Cause in
can't
that
tell.
way, it makes us make sure we do his evaluation every year.
And
we know
he's
what's
not,
going
but
on.
he's not on the matrix, so we can't tell right now, we can't tell the public what he's gonna be making in 5 years. Can't do it. But if you'd rather do it that way, I don't have a problem. All I wanna do is get his
Yeah.
salary, base salary set, so that we know we have a county road supervisor year to year, and we can,
That's what I wanna do, but
That's
I
okay.
understand where we're going to the 14,000. I agree he should get to where he belongs, but we don't even know where he belongs, because we can't even say.
base, I think we do know. He belongs somewhere around 70,000 bucks.
We'll leave the matrix off. and-
We'll just leave the I didn't put the matrix on the motion.
I did.
He did, I did not. What's my motion, please?
To remove Paul off of probation, increase salary $7,000 immediately, and after satisfactory performance, increase salary $7,000 July 2019.
That's my motion. No matrix. You can leave that off.
But any increases would be up to the commission.
Yes. Absolutely. And we can have a further discussion about that. But my motion is simply to set the county road supervisor position base salary today. We get there in 2 chunks. That's my motion. there a second? Going once? Is there a second to the motion? Hearing none, the motion dies for the lack of a second. What's your pleasure, gentlemen? You wanna make another motion?
I'd make a motion that we hand him a check as of tomorrow for $5,000 and table it due to the fact that we're finding out more. Like I said, I'm not trying to drag this out, and I hope we don't lose him, but I think there's more stuff coming in that we should know about than what we've thought about. No?
So you're talking about like a bonus?
Well, just advance his wages at 5,000 right now. They'd be giving him 5,000.
So you wanna increase his salary 5,000?
Salary,
Yeah,
is that what you're
increase the
saying?
salary 5,000. But
I think
Like you
this
say
to
that-
move, but we're stuck in this, just,
Hey, can we redo your motion and then,
we can
just
change.
to get the public to be able to.
That's
talk
what I was
to it?
hoping, if we get a motion, to get a second.
If he makes the motion, you have to have a second.
Yeah, I know
Okay,
that, I
okay,
know that.
come on now, you're not the parliamentarian here. I'm saying, if you get a motion on the floor that's second, it doesn't mean you have to vote for it, okay? So you get another shot
We
at the
can move
pot.
on and hear the
Then we
public.
can move on, if you wanna hear the public, that's fine.
So you redo your motion and I'll second it just to hear it.
What about Scott's motion?
Okay, yeah, we gotta,
okay, like that was,
do you wanna
You had
rescind your
already-
motion?
There, he wants
you already,
back to bills.
Do you wanna rescind your motion? Scott, you have to tell her. Do you wanna rescind your motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll go back to bills and after you were
Okay.
there, right?
So I'll make the motion again. Kim, read my motion, please.
Moves to remove Paul off of probation, increase salary $7,000 immediately, and after a satisfactory performance, increase salary $7,000 July 2019.
Okay, that's my motion. Is there a second? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Comments on the motion from the commissioners? Rather your public comment now?
I'd rather hear the
Yeah.
public comments.
So we're gonna open up comments on the motion, just the motion. Please come forward, stand at the podium to talk so everybody can hear. And does everybody understand the motion? Are there comments, public comments on the motion?
Point of order. Shouldn't this Mr. Adler recuse himself because he's involved with the controversy over whether or not Mr. Alt and the transportation crew paved his,
My charges have been dropped.
the charges have been dropped?
Yes, sir.
When did that happen?
Friday afternoon in Anaconda Courthouse. It was public notice.
All the charges were dropped, or what happened?
All
This
the
is another
charges.
Okay, let's stick
not a
with
subject.
this.
Another subject.
Well, it's
So-
still
We said
point
it's
of
another
order.
subject.
Well,
Thank
That
Mr.
is-
you're
Mr.
done.
Thank you.
Mr. Adler should recuse himself from this
Thanks,
case.
Another
Dick.
subject.
Appreciate
That's a different subject.
It's another
Thanks.
subject.
it. Thanks, Dick. Susan, go ahead, please.
Well, no, it's not another subject,
Yes,
it's
it
a
is.
point of order.
Yeah, we heard you, so, okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Well, what does the attorney say?
He doesn't have, the chairman is gonna make the decision. And the decision is, we heard you. Susan, please, go on the motion, please.
Susie Browning. I've been listening to you talk here, and I really appreciate you letting me get up and make some comments on what you've been discussing. And so this is for the record. I've been hearing through and through that he has been on probation, and I believe that the personnel policy reads that you're supposed to there is a probationary period. It lasts 6 months. If you let that 6 months time go by, then it's just, he's in, because that's the only time you have to take away, to not keep the employee.
No
Susan,
one-
I
Not
assume you
referring-
talked about probationary pay, yeah, he's off
Yeah,
probation.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
on
he's off
He was
probation.
being probation.
But when you said the probationary pay, I'm not seeing that either, because I read the minutes, and back in the minutes in July 5th, you give him, that's when you combine the two jobs, and you gave him a total annual salary of $70,000, and there's no mention of a probation period at that time. There isn't, not in your minutes. If you read your minutes from July 5th.
But you're combining the two jobs.
When you
Let's just
combine,
talk-
first you hired him as the road supervisor, and so that's when his 6-month probationary period would start. Then you added another job description to the road supervisor's position. And so you did that at that time, and I'm not gonna say he still would be under probation period, but you didn't make mention of it in your minutes that you were gonna go back and revisit his salary. You may have discussed it, but it would have been very important to have it in your minutes about it, and it wasn't in there. So anyhow, irregardless, you have brought up the COLA. This year, the elected officials got a 2.1% COLA, and usually the commissioners pass that COLA down to the employees, which you should. Do the 2.1% COLA that Paul Alt got gave him an increase of $1,470 for his annual, that went onto his annual salary. So $1,470 I don't think is any small change. I think it's a pretty good raise. I'd like to have that much, more in a year. So when you talk about COLA, that happens every year.
Did we actually give him the COLA?
Yes, he got the COLA. He got the
Yeah,
COLA.
everybody-
I'm pretty sure
Yeah, the
Sarah,
employees.
Sarah can tell you for sure.
Cause
He
I
did-
was thinking, I'm not cutting you,
Oh.
I want kinda,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
employees
no,
got the
he-
COLA.
but I
did.
didn't think he got it, cause we were in trying to figure out what he was worth.
I think
Actually-
we have to give
I
it.
think we have,
Actually, he did get it, because in 2017, when you took his salary up to $70,000, that made his base pay per month $5,800. So in other words, he's getting a warrant for $5,833.33. In 2018, when you gave the 2.1% COLA, that was $1,470 increase, that brought his base pay up to $5,955.83. So that makes his combined salary $71,470.
but that's the combined side. Let's talk about the road.
Okay, that's fine, and I
Because I
can
think
do
it's
that,
confusing.
I can do that,
Yeah.
Currently, his base salary is $57,178. It is, so I can do that. I'll leave the solid waste on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, not a problem. I guess because with the increase you're talking about now to take him up to 40,000,
Up to 40.
excuse me, you're right, not 40, of $14,000, that would take his, it's going to cost the county more in that you don't want me to say this, but he'd be at 70,000 base salary. And it does cost the county in total amount, for everything, for both positions, like $118,000. So we're talking a lot of money for just one employee. I'm not saying that's what Paul takes home. At the December 18th meeting, Commissioner Slaughter handed out a report from various counties that he obtained from local government, MSU. And at that time, when I took a look at it, I think I got up and said, I think you need to take a look at this and see what their road mill is worth, how many employees they supervise, etc. I don't know if anyone did that. I'm talking about this handout. I did do some research. I did, and I think it's probably really good for you to take a look at. And I do have some copies I will give you. I will.
Thank you.
Okay, I started out with, I would let you know that I got the taxable value off of the MDOR site for the road mill. And on the road mills, you usually figure your budget on one. So I didn't round up the road mill at any point, so I want you to know that. I either found it on the website or I talked to the clerk and recorder. So in Lincoln County, what I found out there is they don't even levy for road taxes, nor do they budget for the secure rural funding, which I brought up previously. I did. So I'm just saying, you know, and it's not probably a good comparison because they're a larger county. Their county mill is even worth more. Anaconda Deer Lodge County, I didn't contact because we have the city in there. Blaine County is, the mill value is worth a little more. The salary, which I found interesting, the salary's at $47,500, and the employee's been there approximately 15 years. So this probation pay up at the top, I don't quite understand. I don't. He supervises approximately 12 road employees. Madison County, as we know, is a very rich county, and so not even going to mess with them there because they have a lot of money over there. They do so. Powell County, I didn't contact because they have the 3 supervisors. Ravalli County, I didn't. Once again, we have another county that has a lot of money. Their road supervisor does make $91,000 plus benefits, but they take care of 300 paved miles, 250 gravel miles. He supervises 19 people. Valley County, that says probationary plus benefits. When I called, I found out that that employee, that road supervisor, what is his name, Dirk Drugi? No, he's coming up, Todd Young. He isn't on probation. He's been there for approximately 6 years. And his base is $48,000. Road employees supervised are 21. In Bighorn County, the road mill is worth way more than Granite County, and it's a large county in square miles. Carbon County I did not contact. Fallon County I did not contact. For Granite County, it's 1,733 square miles. The road base pay right now is $57,000. The road mill is worth $11,129. There are 5 full-time road employees and 2 full-time solid waste employees. Muscle Shell County, I did a few at.
Go back to what you just said.
To Granite County.
Yeah.
Granite County, the road base pay is $57,160.
Yeah, I know.
And there's 5 full-time road employees. And I put 2 full-time solid waste employees, which I guess I better not have solid waste in here. So, anyway, and the road mill is $11,129. Now, so I thought a lot of these counties did not compare with Granite County, so I wanted to find some that were comparable. So I did Muscle Shell County. It's kind of the same size. The road mill was worth quite a bit, and the supervisor's base pay is $57,000, and he's been there for approximately 5 years.
We have 6 people working for the county.
Do you? Okay,
And
my
plus one part-time.
okay, my mistake. Then.
Right, I
My
think that's what
error.
I wanted.
My error. My error. Okay. Okay. So Muscle Shell is very comparable, and $57,000 base pay is I don't think a bad salary at all. Especially, I can take for an example, our superintendent in Drummond makes $60,000, and she has a master's. So anyhow, Phillips County is a very large county, so I didn't get a whole lot of comparison there. Liberty County, the road mill is worth less. The supervisor is not on salary, so I figured it on the number of hours in a year. And so he's making about $46,000, and he's been that for 3 years. Judith Basin is another good county to compare with salary and with the road mill. It's worth a little more. The supervisor's been there for 15 years. He was employed 3 years prior to that, yet he is only making close to $50,000, and their supervises 12 full-time employees. I think that our supervisor is making a fair wage, especially here in Granite County. I don't think he requires an increase to his salary. I think that each year there is COLA, and the COLA is, you know, it's up to the commissioners whether to do that for elected officials or not, and it's also up to the commission whether to pass it down to the employees or not. So, I think that where he's sitting now with his base salary is a fair salary. And with COLA, I mean, I think anybody in this room would like to have a $1,400 raise for a year. So he's going to get that with COLA and with longevity. He is at some point. So I would ask you to really reconsider revisiting his base salary. I would. I think that it's costing the county plenty right now. I think it would be a good decision. Maybe you want to, you know, I would just ask you to revisit it. I would. I thank you. I think that's, any questions?
Well, I have one.
Okay.
So you ran into the same thing I ran into in that all the counties pay county road supervisors differently, their organization's made up differently, they supervise different numbers of people, and their road conditions and situations different. I mean, I don't think it's fair to say, well, I'm not gonna look at that county because they got a lot of money. You know, they have roads and they have to have a supervisor, and okay.
Yeah.
So what I did is I ran into the same thing as what you just talked about, and it wasn't as plain as you made it sound. Maybe I'm dumb. So I called Sam Gianfrancisco at Montana State University local government. I said, Sam, you've been doing this for 30 years. You know who he is, right? And I
No,
said,
actually I don't.
Well,
I know Dan Clark and I know Paul,
well,
but
Sam's-
I've never heard of that.
Sam's
guy.
now the acting director. So I
Okay.
said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm finding out. It's confusing. He says, well, he says, I need to go through this again anyway. I'll call you back. And he said, anybody's welcome to call Sam Gianfrancisco at Montana State University. He said, where you want to be is maybe middle, high middle, or, and I said, well, where are we at 70,000? He says, well, you're low, middle, or middle, but that's fine if that works for you. If you can get this guy for that, you better do it. Because that's, his estimation is, that's about right for the market. And you're welcome to call Sam, I'll get you his number. So see what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
I try to get
And-
something to
and
boil
you-
down
you-
what you just said.
You did MSU, and I called or contacted the counties or found a lot of
And I
information
called some counties too,
on
but
their
that's why I
website.
got confused.
You know, actually, and I found out, you know, just by calling. I'm not saying that everything is per gospel on this, like I had a mistake in the employees for Granite County, but I did as good a job as I could.
Yep, thank you for
Because
that.
it just seems to me that, for the road supervisor we have now, for the amount of time he's been here, I think that his base salary is ample and it is fair. And I think you need to take into consideration, this is Granite County, not Madison County, not Ravalli County. Because you do have to look at the road mills. And I will once again bring up the SRS money. Because you never know when that is going to change. So, I really appreciate it, letting me say a few comments. And Scott, I appreciate that I had heard, maybe this is, that you had, when this topic first came up, you said, I think we better put this on the agenda. And I'm glad that you did. Because when the combined salary, when they combined the two positions, that was not on the agenda. It wasn't on the agenda, it's just in the minutes. So I think it's really, I'm glad you did that, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the information. Is there any further public comments?
So, Tim Allen. So I just have I'm trying to understand something about your motion. What you're trying to do is set a base pay regardless of who's in the position.
Exactly.
Paul came in tomorrow and quit, you're still trying to establish it for whoever. So then, and maybe this is a question for Blaine, but can you tie, what you're trying to do is put 7,000 in now, 7,000 come July 1. I don't see how you can tie that to his performance if it's for a general position. That doesn't make sense.
Why?
Why?
Because the position is for anybody who comes in. So it seems like you should establish a base pay based on what that position is worth, whether it's Paul Alt or Dick Mata or whoever's driving the
Exactly what
trucks.
we're trying to do.
Okay, but what I'm saying is you're saying to give him 7,000 now, 7,000 July 1, based on his performance.
No, you have to have a good performance evaluation to get the second seven. He has a good evaluation, which okay.
I get
But
what
we would
you're
never, but you know, if he doesn't have a good performance evaluation this last time, we wouldn't be talking about this.
No, but what I think what I'm getting lost in here is that you're trying to set a base pay for
Yes.
anybody in the position.
After
But you're
probation,
now trying to tie that last second part of the increase. I don't have a problem with the two increases. What I'm saying is I don't think you can tie it to his performance when you're trying to set it for a general position.
So if
they're all
somebody
tied to
quit.
No. His increases are tied to performance after that.
So if, say he quit, and then you're saying that we'd have a set wage if somebody come in, can't we set a wage, say if he quit, then we can make a new wage set?
Well, your contract, it sounds like
It ain't
because
a contract.
of
Yeah,
the
it's a
way that the
contract.
pay is coming out, you're not gonna be in some matrix,
Right.
okay? So whoever comes in, you could contract this thing and say, the next guy comes in and goes, well, you don't necessarily have his qualifications, we're only gonna pay you 60. Then another guy could come in and say, well, gosh, you've got tons of it, we're gonna pay you 80, okay? But my point is that if you're trying to set a base pay that you're gonna put into a manual and say, this is what this position pays, I think your motion is worded poorly in that regard, is what I'm trying to say.
I don't think they're gonna do a manual. I think, in my interpretation, what he's saying is that the base then would be 63, and then that another 7 would be performance. But when they go back, say Paul quit, then they can go back and say, this is what we're advertising the position.
okay,
at.
so-
A little bit, it is a little bit saying what he's worth, that
Okay, so,
wording that motion.
so the
that
base
way.
pay then is not for a general position, it's for what Paul is worth in that position. Because you're having to contract with him, because he's not fitting into your payment.
That's the way I'm interpreting what they're talking.
Okay,
I guess I understand what you're saying now.
okay. I'm just saying if you were like a secretary's position, you couldn't base it off of her pay, off of her performance, because it's a general position.
Well, I mean,
Because you're not contracting.
to say what you're saying is, you know, we could talk about the base going to 63, that's his base, kind of performance, he'll take another big jump. But however that happens, what we're trying to do is get to a market price so we can keep him.
No, I totally understand
Okay,
that.
okay.
I'm just saying, I think that.
I think we're saying the same thing.
I think the syntax of what you're saying
Got it.
is not the correct
And I
stuff, and that's all I'm trying to
appreciate-
clear up.
Tim, I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, further public comment?
Rodney Holbach, Phillipsburg. The thing that I would ask the commissioners at this time is, I hear $118,000 that Mr. Alt is costing us, and I don't have any problems with Mr. Alt. I think Paul is probably very capable of handling the job. The thing that I see is, keep hearing he's got flaming progress reports. I mean, everything he's doing is great. But yet I go, drive the county roads, and I still see the highest part of the road is the outside at the borrow pit. We're driving in a canal in the bottom of it. I don't see gravel being hauled from the nearest pit. I see it hauled from different pits. And there's some reason for that?
There is, depending on the quality of the material, you know how.
The best quality material, sir, is right at McDonald's pit.
How do you say that?
Well,
You have it tested, you have the others?
Yes,
you have
it's been
Nelson's,
tested.
and
Yes, it
Nelson's,
has.
you have Weaver's tested and all that?
Yes.
I don't know.
And I don't know, Rodney, you may be right on that, and I'm not disputing that, but what I'm saying is that's the evaluations they make is what, you know, what's the binder in it, and it's a process.
We're off the
A
subject.
little
here.
bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see improvements on the road like I would expect to. I haven't heard whether how the road crews are reacting to his supervision. Are the road crews happy at this time?
His evaluations indicate that the road crews are very happy with him. He's got some younger guys that he's teaching to.
How many guys has he lost?
So you gotta be careful here now,
Yeah.
talking about his evaluation,
No,
you can't talk about his
But I mean,
evaluation.
We're getting way on.
what we're hearing is that he's got good evaluations, and
Okay.
that includes all that. Fair enough?
Up here on this counter, I haven't seen his analysis. What's he supposed to be doing? Do you have a sheet that
We
says?
do, we have a job description.
Yep, you have that?
We
And
do.
It was here last time, there was some laying there.
I'm just wondering.
I have one, but I got a bunch of writing on it.
Okay, yeah,
We'll get you one.
okay,
Yep, we'll
You
get
get
you
one
one.
from Sarah.
okay.
Okay.
That's my comment, so, I
Thank
think
you.
we need to, he needs to step up, because the road up Willow Creek hasn't gotten any better. I hear that some of the roads in Hall area have not been that good. Let's keep on top of it. I'm a little disappointed that you're giving him so much money up front for such a short period of time.
Okay, thank you. Any further public comment?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Dan Villa, for the record. So, why did you create this job as a road supervisor?
What did the commission create?
Yes.
It come in, I can answer that, it came in before either one of these guys were here, Dan. I voted, I'm not trying to make it look good or nothing, but I voted against it and I got voted down, but they were thinking there was somebody that needs to take over and get charged, cause we're not having. One thing we wasn't getting done is the callback, going looking at stuff, going out pricing stuff, we were letting the crews take it upon ourselves, kinda muddy old hell stuff to take it. Cliff Nelson made a motion that we really needed somebody to step up and actually, instead of sending two guys to town to get parts, you can break it down to one guy to get parts. And, cause they were saying they had to go in pairs, and that was pretty much coming down to getting a babysitter.
Okay. So, my next question is, why do these other counties have like 2 or 3?
What's that?
Why do other counties have 2 or 3?
Good question. Some of
I-
them do and some of them don't.
I couldn't answer that, I don't
Okay.
know why they did
Not all of
that.
them.
We don't wanna have 2 or 3, we're having troubles with one, it
Okay.
sounds like.
Well, I'm just leading up to the question of, why didn't you, like bigger companies do, just go in, you take one of the crews, whoever is the lead on there, you offer them so much money more, it usually rounds up to about $10,000, now, let me finish. It rounds up to about $10,000 a year for that person on their raise. Above that, it's about a 5% raise above the rest of the crew. They run the crew, they're responsible for everything. So if you would've did that, you could've had 2 crew members, one from each side, $20,000, or you could've made it 30, either way. You would've stopped buying a new truck, you would've stopped insurance and everything for Paul and that. I'm not saying anything bad about Paul, I'm asking about the job. Because you could've had 2 road supervisors, gave them that much more money, they would've been the ones responsible. And with that kind of money you're giving them, they would've had to do the job, or you could've just said, hey, you're not doing it. I mean, you would've saved $70,000, $80,000 a year.
Can I answer you now?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's
I'm just
fine.
trying to. One thing is, it was offered in-house, and not one person from either crew wanted anything to do with it. One person I talked to, I can't make a name or nothing.
No, I don't
You know,
want
I'm just saying, I literally talked to him just like this, and he said that's too big of a headache, I don't want nothing to do with it. But it was
Understandable.
offered in-house to the people there first, and we never got one application from them, which they would have had the opportunity, I mean, they probably got the job due to the fact that it's in-house.
Yep. Okay, well,
And then we tried to do, about the third year when I was in here, we tried to set it up so each place, like Phillipsburg and Hall, would have a boss to take care of. And all that did was make a great big conflict, cause this guy's getting this, this guy's getting that. Now they're actually working together, now you're not holding up a piece of equipment saying, well, you know, they have this and they have that.
Why is this
And
one- I
literally
understand
on the new truck, Dan, if you've seen the receipts and the breakdowns and that, right now, we're sitting on a liability of a truck that don't even, DOT won't, they're looking at it even saying, what the hell are you doing? And I mean, this is shit that we've had for years and years, and we keep patching and patching. If we don't do like we did with the sheriff, and step up and get on a rotation of every 3 years, a new rig, we're gonna have ourselves, it's gonna cost us twice as much, Dan.
you answered my question a long time ago, nobody wanted it. So, that was.
I would just wanna make
That's
sure.
why I was
on the
wondering.
new truck
No,
and
you
that.
answered it by
I didn't mean to
saying
keep
that.
going on, but
Yeah.
honest to God, we put it out to the people that were, and it started right at the top of the order, the guy that had 20-some years, down to the guy that had 1 year.
Yeah, cause that, all the bigger companies, that's what they do.
Well, we have
And
to,
they have
because
that
it's
boss,
in-house.
yeah.
See,
Right.
in-house, you get
So-
priority.
Okay, well, you just
So-
said nobody wanted it,
So
so.
Dan, just to.
But that would've saved a lot of money.
Oh, hell yeah,
Your first,
you gotta have somebody
your first
wanting
question
it.
about why did you do this, when I first came on as a county commissioner, Commissioner Nelson asked me to follow up on one project that he'd been working with Commissioner Adler on and Commissioner Bonnie for a long time, and that was to hire one county road supervisor, okay? They didn't feel they had, this is the only county that didn't have it. Now, some of them have 3, as you
Right.
pointed out, but they didn't have somebody in charge, okay? And somebody needed to evaluate the equipment, evaluate the roads, and Paul's in the middle of that, and, get rid of the junk we have and try to make stuff safe again, and, he's got a lot of little projects. Now, Cliff didn't know who that was gonna be, but he says, you need to make me a promise, if you take over as a county commissioner, I want you to follow through with one thing, hire a county road supervisor. And I went to Mackers and I started asking people, what do you think? And, I'm a public safety guy, I'm not a road guy. So I had a lot of learning, and I still learn. But let me tell you something, that's a legacy of Commissioner Adler and Commissioner Nelson to make this happen. So we did, and our first one, of course, was Mark. Okay?
Yeah,
So that's how
you
this
answered my
got going.
question.
And
Yep.
we hired that
Just
guy
don't
to
break it.
come in, Dan Jack Nor was his name, he was a guy, he was a road supervisor for 30-some years, and that was he's a contractor now, and we actually had him come in and study to what he said.
No, that's fine.
Made recommendations, so,
Yeah, that's fine. You answered my
So,
question.
John?
Well, you heard my testimony a couple weeks ago, but I wanna go on the record as saying I think that the base salary at whatever it is now, 57 or 58,000 without all the other stuff on top of it, I think that along with his salary for the solid waste is efficient for now.
We're not talking about solid waste though,
No, I know it.
let's keep.
But that's public comment talking about
Yeah.
why, so I think he can stay there.
And when they combine the sheriff's department with the coroner's office, I was talking to him and Shu the other night, and he said they got a 5% raise when they combine the two. So, anyways, I think it's fine where it's at. I think you can let him go through his 2 or 3 years and then evaluate and go on. Thank you.
Good, thanks, John. Any further comment?
thermostat in here.
Turn the heat down.
Yeah, right up on that thermostat there, behind the counter.
Feels good.
You like it? It's,
I finally quit shaking.
set at 72.
Turn it down. Shut it off now.
You got the
I'll
heat
be
right
leaving
there?
soon.
Mr. Motta.
90 seconds.
Name's Dick Motta. It was under my impression that the meeting here today was to discuss whether or not Mr. Alt would receive a salary increase. It wasn't my understanding that you were talking about changing the base salary for the job, which is correct.
Setting the base salary for the job.
Pardon?
Setting the base salary for the job, yes.
So you're setting the base salary for the job, but that should have been done last year, right? Mr. Alt was hired in 2017. His 6 months or year period of probation was over in I believe it was May of 2018. And it should have been at that particular point in time that you should have changed the base salary to reflect whatever you thought it should be. You went through a budget process. In that budget process, you reviewed all of the wages of the employees for the entire county. The increase on that, my memory serves right, was based on a cost of living increase. There wasn't any indication that particular increases would be given to different people in there. That wage increase applied to everybody. So what I'm saying is, why didn't that standard be set last year, and then why didn't the budget procedures apply at that time? And why are you considering it at this particular point in time, when you should have done that at budget preparation time?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, then Mr. Ald is asking for a wage increase over and above what you gave to all of the other employees. He's not?
He's asking for us to,
Honor what we
right,
offered.
our commitment to take him off probationary period and set a base pay, for the position. And you're right, we didn't do it. We didn't do it on time. And he continued to receive his probationary pay. And he still is on his probationary pay.
So then the increase that he's gonna be receiving this year, you're talking about that going into effect July 1st of 2000.
Well, the motion, Dick, is one increase immediately and then one in July. And you're right, because that'll be in a different budget.
Okay, but you are looking at an increase for this year at this time?
Yes, sir, that's the motion.
Okay, if that exceeds your budget, then what other fund are you gonna take that increase out of?
There's enough money in salaries and wages to do in that budget. At the end of the year, there may have to be a budget or a line item transfer, but it will be within that budget, be within the road plan. It won't affect any other budgets.
How can it be in that budget?
Because
He
there's-
has
has
the
to
money,
decrease,
he has a
right?
cash outlay in it.
Huh?
There's a bunch of cash in there, lots.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
He has the money in that.
Still in the budget, there's
So you budgeted last year for his
That is what
increase
it
to
just
go up?
said. It just said that there is money in it,
Cash.
that we can.
that there's, he hasn't used as much out of other line items.
And he brought in a bunch.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, I just, he
Yeah.
keeps saying.
So some line item in there is gonna be decreased, and you don't expect going over
Well, I
the total
take that back.
procedures?
There may be a cash decrease, yes. There's cash in that budget, lots. But it's not gonna affect any other line item to do this.
So you're going on the assumption that if, whatever the total dollar amount is in any given budget, by law, you're not supposed to exceed that appropriation. And so you're saying that any of the other items are all cash items, and we can
No,
spend whatever. we
There's
want.
cash. Outside of all, we're talking about just the road budget. All the line items are fulfilled, and there's reserves in each one of those. And in that budget, there is a cash reserve, a big cash reserve, stemming from money that Paul brought in last year on different projects, and, expenditures we didn't make. So there's more than, the answer for you is there's more than enough money to make the $7,000 out of his budget. Easily.
Which it should come out.
So
We
one
should.
point of clarification though, I think you have to look at the cash and the budget separately. So, but there's sufficient in actually your budget that you set to pay that. So without even looking at that additional cash. correct?
Exactly. Well, and to answer Dick's question is at the end of the year, there might be a line item transfer just to balance out
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
line items, but not outside of the budget. It's not gonna affect any part of the county.
That's allowed.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, the other point is Mr. Hall still the superintendent or whatever his title is for the landfill?
Yes.
And so he gets a combination of the pay, the $57,000 for the transportation department. You're also looking at, I believe it's 24,000, but I don't remember the number, for the landfill supervisor.
15.
He makes that current.
Yes, and he doesn't wanna change that. In his negotiation with us was, I'll leave that where it is.
Well, see, would we be looking at a 40-hour week for both jobs and saying in effect that his salary, let's just say that he has 10 hours for the landfill job and 30 hours for the transportation department? Or-
No, he's a salaried employee that works, is on
7
call
days.
24/7, 7 days a week. He is a salaried employee, so you can't really say 40 hours a week, because that's not what he does. Okay? He's on call 24/7, he, weekends, holidays, if he has to make both those jobs work. So go ahead.
Well, if he has two jobs and he's getting these two different pays, it would seem to me that the transportation department job should be a part-time job. And if you're talking about a base pay of 51,000 or raising it by 14,000, then that base pay should be lowered by whatever that percentage is, so that the other $15,000 isn't an addition. So in effect, last year he became the supervisor of the road department, and that was a $15,000 increase to him and his pay. So,
You meant some.
Are you saying look at
last
the
year
hours he
doing
works
two
and prorated?
jobs, you're receiving two different pay salary levels, and now you're trying to change the job. If you're looking at the,
You're confusing me, but here's the thing. It's not a 40-hour-a-week job, he's a salary, okay? He has to accomplish both jobs. He has to fulfill the job description of both jobs. And he works way more than 40 hours a week, and it's way more than full-time. And, but there is a significant crossover in duties from the solid waste, running the solid waste at both ends of the county, and what he does as the county road supervisor. All those repairs and things like that are made by, and historically have been made by the road department. So he's supervising, kind of the same people there, and he's at both ends of the county 2 or 3 times a day to do that. So there's such a crossover in those jobs that we combine them so we could save 15,000 a year or more. Because it'd be more than that, because we don't have to pay health insurance, and we don't have to pay benefits to 2 people, we just pay it to 1. Does that make sense?
well, why don't you redefine the job of the transportation manager to include the landfill department? Make it one job and have one
That's a good,
classification.
instead of having 2 job descriptions, that's a good suggestion. It does come out of 2 different budgets though, and we'll have to look into that.
Okay, well, in my estimation, you're exceeding your appropriations for the previous budget year. And that anything that goes in, at the very least, there shouldn't be any increase until July 1st of this year. And the people should have an opportunity to discuss the thing. I think also that you might look at the possibility of combining those two jobs. If both of them are supposed to be under one supervisor, then I think the dollar amount and the base pay should be adjusted to reflect those job duties.
Okay? Anything else, Dick?
Well, the other thing is, I still think Mr. Adler,
No, you're getting out, this is a whole different subject.
that's all part of this, you're voting on this, right?
It's,
And mine
but
is
you're
a-
bringing up other stuff that don't have.
No, it's
no,
a
yes, it
point of
is.
order.
It was checked out
Adler.
and made sure it was
It's a
good
point
to
of
go.
order. It's a point of order.
I would not
okay?
have done.
Well, then
Yeah.
stop him.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
chair's duty.
I will do it. Okay, you're done.
It's a point of order,
Have a
that
seat.
Mr. Adler should recuse himself.
Have a seat.
I would like.
You can make that
some
request
kind
and
of,
then, that's
decision
good.
on whether or not Mr. Adler is
You
going to
can have a
recuse.
seat. Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
What was yours, what'd you say?
You can have a seat. You're done.
He said that way.
No,
Thank you
I
for
wanna
your
know,
comment.
I wanna.
You
I
can
wanna
moan all you
really-
want to, but-
Oh, okay, you're done on that subject,
You're done.
okay, we're done
You're
on
done.
that subject. Done.
It's not, it's a,
No,
he's
we're
voting
done
on
on that
this.
subject.
It's very much
Yeah.
part of
But
this.
it's
No,
a personal
no,
issue.
he's
know
not
what?
gonna recuse himself, and he's not required
Yeah.
to recuse himself at this point.
Yeah.
So,
So, do you have any other comments on the motion? That's what we're having, the motion.
A motion.
Yeah.
And is Mr. Adler gonna be allowed to vote on the motion?
Okay, sit
It's
down.
a personal issue.
Sit down.
Alright.
Sit down or meet the sheriff. So, sir, I have got that job description up. Does anybody else have comments? Elena, did you have some comments?
Yes, thank
Can you
you.
stand there? Or is it hard for you?
I can
Is
say,
it- Would you rather do it from right there? Just do it.
I am standing.
Okay.
Okay, you keep mentioning the evaluation. Now, December 18th, that was the first time there was a discussion regarding his salary, am I correct? And was at that time that you had the evaluation?
Prior to that, I think.
What's that even say to me?
Well, December 18th, there was a meeting to discuss his salary. And I believe that you mentioned based on his evaluation, satisfactory evaluation.
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that? When did you get
December
that?
18th, you're right, you're correct.
Okay, and the evaluation was
It was prior to that.
about how long?
I don't know for sure, but it was maybe like 2 weeks.
It was after May. Oh, 2 weeks, okay, fine. And
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
Commissioner Hinkle wasn't here.
No.
Okay, fine. Were you familiar? Did you see the evaluation?
No.
You didn't see the evaluation. Okay,
He's
then,
had the opportunity to see it
oh,
though. really.
I realize that, but December 18th is what I'm talking about. Okay, yes, we did have another commissioner there.
And he
At that
filled out
time,
the evaluation.
At that time, there was a lot of public comments made. I did not hear one person say that he was doing a good job. The only one of the commissioners who did say it was Commissioner Slaughter. So I don't understand how that meeting, people testified, people said the roads, just like today it was mentioned that the roads are in good condition. You say he's 24/7 on call. However, a number of people said that he doesn't return the calls. Neighbors of mine called on weekends.
so I think
Nothing
if you're
ever
gonna do this, you should
happened.
close the meeting if you're gonna take this public comment.
Yeah, I
Close
think,
the meeting.
so just stay on the,
But you mentioned performance, satisfactory performance,
we're
and that's what you're basing
But I
this
think you-
raise on.
That's
I
all
think
we
you
can
could
say,
take,
though.
I think you could take it, but you should close the meeting to take it.
okay, so here's what we can say, is he's got a satisfactory performance evaluation documented in his file. That's about all we can say. So we can't respond to you, okay?
But based on that,
But
you're
let's just go
considering
back-
this.
Let's just go back to what you said there. We've received other comments, very positive comments about his performance. And,
haven't heard it.
well, it's in the minutes.
I saw the minutes,
Okay,
yes.
so then I think you need to stick to what the motion is. And the motion is if you agree or disagree, or it's too much, or whatever you think, that's what you need to comment on.
Based on his performance, his satisfactory performance, and I haven't seen any evidence.
So,
And
hold on a second.
Mr.
Hold on a minute.
and-
I think you take the comment, but I'd close the meeting. That's the way I would do it.
All right, so
I'm
do you
very
wanna, is there anybody else that has comments before we close the meeting?
Okay, so you're finished taking my comments, I'm
No,
done.
No,
but in an open meeting, yeah.
Not in an open meeting.
So-
So you keep going into personnel
No,
issues.
that's basically it.
And you
And
can
I
give
was
this-
just finished, and I'm finishing my statement, and I was interrupted.
No, but
Okay.
because the county can't violate his right to privacy. So you can give your statement, but it's gotta
There
be
is no,
closed.
who's paying his salary, Blaine? I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
we
there's
are.
a Constitution of the Montana that applies here, so I've got to.
The taxpayer is paying his salary. Let's
I'm
get
not-
that straight. We don't have
I
to
didn't
see
say
the
anything about that,
evaluation.
Elena. I said what you're talking about is evaluation. You can't
And
do
we're
that.
not asking to see his
But you're
evaluation.
talking
Based on
about
what the
what-
public says, I see there's a disagreement between his evaluation by you guys and what the public sees. That's my comment. And based on that, no, I don't think he deserves a raise.
Okay, noted, thank you,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
I'm not saying she can't talk, I just think it has to be in
Yeah,
closed session.
Any other public comment? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, there's a second, and we're gonna close public comment on the motion. I'd like to invite you back at 2 o'clock if you have public comment on anything else, certainly are on this. You can come back at 2 o'clock and we'll hear it at that time. So, sir, I have a position description for you. I was able to dig one out here. I'll do that. Okay, so commissioners, what's your pleasure on the motion? Is there any further comment from the commissioners after hearing the public?
I think we should move on.
What was that? You said you should move on. So, will you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, all in
And,
favor?
one note I do wanna make, it seems like a lot of the conflicts coming right back at the chairman, and I don't think there's 3 of us here, and I don't want you to feel that you're being put in the spot. that
Thank you.
are. You know what I'm saying, though? I don't feel it's fair. There's 3 of us here,
Yeah,
and
but-
you're looking at both sides, which you have to, and we're looking at a side amongst ourselves, so we gotta work together, we're gonna never
We do.
get this done.
We
And I
absolutely do.
apologize for making it go on longer, but there's stuff I don't understand.
That's important. No, it's important.
So your motion is to move to table it?
No. No, the motion's on the table.
Oh, to move with,
It was
okay,
the-
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
7,000.
Do you have any other
All right.
comments?
Thank you, Kim, because I'm old.
Does everybody understand the motion? Kim, would you read the motion one more time? please?
Goodbye.
Okay, thank you.
You see what I'm
Yeah, yes, no, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so the motion is to offer Paul $7,000 immediately, and in July 2019, an additional $7,000.
Only on his
With
evaluation.
with a
What side?
satisfactory performance evaluation.
Yeah, I think that's.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so does everybody understand the motion?
Really? Okay, Commissioner Slaughter moves to remove Paul off of probation and increase salary $7,000 immediately, and after a satisfactory performance increase salary $7,000 July 2019.
So that would be move off probationary pay.
Yeah, add pay to the.
So we still have the matrix in
No, there is no matrix in it right now. I mean,
Yeah, we don't do
we can
that.
discover that later. No, it's not in the motion. He doesn't automatically go on anything until we. Okay?
With, yeah, it's been off, so.
Yeah, he's not on it now. so. Okay, any other questions about the motion or comments from the commissions? Hearing none and sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. you wanna be heard, or just, you just stay moved?
Say no.
Okay, so your vote is no, okay? Motion carries, 2-1. Okay, thank you, we'll have to keep going here. But it was worth it. Sorry we're out of order. Georgetown Lake Overflow,
6428.59, the lake is 10 point.
Excuse me, aren't you gonna, you closed the meeting, the motion passed, is there any?
Oh, the motion, they didn't close the meeting.
no,
Oh, okay, well,
Motion
is there
passed.
gonna be a resolution then regarding this,
I don't think it's a resolution, we could.
giving him that salary increase?
So I think we, as a contract employee, I think we need to draft a contract.
Contract, yeah.
Can you do that?
Yes, I think
And that will be on the next agenda?
Yes, has to be, so that we
Okay.
know, right?
so. Yeah, it'd be on the agenda.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be on the next agenda, but it'll be on the upcoming agenda.
Yeah, we'd have to prove the contract, we do that publicly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, Georgetown
60,
Lake, go ahead, sorry.
Georgetown Lake came in at 64.